Hello and welcome to all the oddities for round 16 of the 2024 AFL season. In this first clip, you can see that Alex Neil-Bullen is definitely trying to get the ball over the boundary line. I think the umpires made the right call here and paid it deliberate. Hugh McCluggage takes the weight of the world on his shoulders and he goes through and kicks an awesome goal. This is the sort of stuff that you dream of as a kid, to be able to kick the winning goal. With only 30 seconds left in the game, for some reason Nick Blakey was left wide open. He gets the ball off the tap and kicks inside the Swans forward 50. Logan McDonald takes the mark and he goes back, and you can see the conversation with the umpire saying that he is able to go off the mark, but he has to kick the ball over the defender. And I'm sure we're all aware of what happened after this. He couldn't make the distance, which is quite strange as a player who plays in the forward line. He can't kick a 50-metre goal unless he just hasn't made the connection right. This too is something that you dream of as a kid, being able to kick the ball after the siren to win the game. That's just something that dreams are made of. Unfortunately, this one was not a dream, it was a nightmare. I thought this smother, I guess, or spoil, I don't know what you'd call it, from Gary Rohan was pretty awesome. He lost sight of the ball, he had no idea where it was, but he knew the defender had his arms out ready to mark the ball, so he's just thrown his arms straight in the air, and he's just spoiled the ball down to the ground, and it ends up with a Geelong goal. Probably didn't get the recognition that it deserved on the night, but very well done to him. This one was a double oddity. You can see that Higgins has clearly thrown this ball. He definitely didn't get a second hand to it. He's just thrown it over the back of his head. Somehow the umpire didn't see this. It's play on. Mitch Owens gets the ball inside the forward 50, almost inside the square, and he handballs it off to King, who completely shanks the kick. I understand he's got the pressure there, and probably not an easy kick for such a big fella, but come on, this is what you're paid money to do. On a side note, this was probably one of the worst games that you could watch all year. It was just terrible footy from both teams. Anyway, moving on to the next clip, you can see that the ball is on the ground and fumbling inside the Richmond Tigers forward 50, bounces down, and Noah Bolter just throws his body to the side and kicks a pretty awesome soccer goal. After the siren goes at half time of the Brisbane and Melbourne game, Petty marks the ball probably 55-60 metres out, and he's got to absolutely launch this one to even get a point, let alone a goal. He goes back, and all the commentators, and probably myself included, thought he didn't have the distance in him. But he's gone back and unleashed the torp, and he got very, very close. The distance was no issue, just the accuracy. But to kick that from 60 metres out from the likes of Harrison Petty, that's pretty impressive. I found this one pretty interesting. You can see that the game is in the balance, 6 minutes left, and the Lions are making their comeback. They're only 8 points down at this point in the game. And Dunkley marks the ball, and Kozzy Pickett bumps him. It's probably not enough for 50, but he's toe on the line. He actually steps over the mark by probably 2 metres. The umpire tells him to come back. He doesn't come back. And Dunkley does look like he's about to go the handball, but I don't think he's fully committed to it. Kozzy Pickett knocks it out of his hands and the umpire calls play on. We've seen this before many times in the year where that is actually paid a 50-metre penalty. Do you think the umpire made the right call on this one? Taylor Walker marks the ball inside the Crows forward 50, and as he's going back, he takes a look towards the goals and he notices that there's actually no defender on the goal line. He does leave the kick a little bit short, but because there's no one on the goal line, it goes through for a goal. He really caught the Giants sleeping on this one. As Ben Keays tackles Coniglio, he falls down to the ground and he's still holding on to Coniglio by the jumper. He does do a full 360, but the umpire pays this as a free kick for holding the ball, even though he hasn't gone to the ground, which I know you don't have to be holding the ball. But I don't feel like Keays had enough control of the tackle to be called for holding the ball. Yes, Coniglio could have got rid of the ball earlier, but I'm not entirely sure this is holding the ball in my book. Fair bit going on in this very short clip. As the ball is inside the Lions forward 50, the ball is thrown up and it goes down to the ground. Caleb Windsor tries to clear the ball. He kicks it into the knee of McInerney. If this was slightly lower, it did bounce through and it would have been a goal. But because it's the knee, anything above the knee or above is not considered a kick. So it could have been a goal, it wasn't. But then also, Stephen May was very lackadaisical, as the commentators were saying. He didn't try to rush this through. If this actually ended up being a goal, this would have been an absolute coach killer in the first quarter. This was almost a contender for a lull of the week, as the Brisbane Lions are paid a free kick, even though I thought it wasn't a block. Hipwood clears the ball inside the Lions forward 50. Joe Daniher goes to take a mark and he actually drops it. In the end, it looks like he's trying to kick it forward to the two players that are running onto the ball, and it goes through for a goal. This ended up as a point. I could just imagine Fagan being absolutely furious. I found this one pretty interesting. Guy Lohmann did eventually go off for a HIA, which he passed, which fair enough. But just the severe impact that this was at the start, why was he not told to go off straight away? He was able to take this kick. He went inside the forward 50 where he got another kick a little bit later. And then the doctors came and got him and told him to come off. You could see this, clearly he hit his head. It was a pretty big collision, but for some reason he was able to play for another couple minutes before being told to come off. Just bizarre in my opinion. As the ball goes inside the Crows forward 50, Taylor Walker and Buckley are fighting for the ball. They both completely misjudge it, and it actually falcons Buckley. You can see he's rubbing his eye after, so it definitely hurt. Just a funny one. Charlie Cameron's having a year to forget after Joe Daniher tries to do the right thing and pass the ball over the top to get him involved in the game, and for some reason he too also drops the mark. Last year, or even the year before, he would have gobbled this up and easily kicked a goal. This was a pretty solid hit from Darling as the ball goes inside the West Coast Eagles forward 50. If this went a little bit further the other direction, I reckon he would have hit him square in the face and would have knocked him out. This would have been weeks. He was towing the line very, very closely. Do you think this needs a please explain or anything like that? I think both Hipwood and Jack Varney are extremely lucky that this was nothing more. Hipwood is trying to clear the ball, fair enough, and Varney dives down to try and get the ball, but this could have ended extremely badly with a broken leg or a broken arm or a kick to the face, which would have knocked you out, absolutely. But luckily both players were okay. This was again borderline very close to something a lot more severe. Thank goodness for the replay. As Mitch Georgiades goes to kick for goal, he thinks it's gone through, and in the replay you can see he's actually gone the early crow and he's celebrating that this has gone through. But unfortunately, it actually hasn't. You can see straight away he holds his face and is like, oh no. Big thanks to Fox Footy for replaying that. Love it. Wouldn't you just hate this as a teammate? As Bailey gets the ball inside the forward 50, he runs towards goal thinking he's going to kick it. Conor McKenna absolutely flies past him and doesn't give him the handball, and then Bailey gets tackled and chased down for a hold in the ball call. Surely you give your teammate an absolute spray for such a bad decision there. But also got to give Jack Varney absolute props for this awesome tackle, and it definitely saved a goal. Long has absolutely crunched Billy Frampton, and this ends up going through for a Gold Coast goal. You just got to love the physicality of the sport. Eric Hipwood had an absolute stinker of a night. He gets the ball inside the forward 50, and as you can see, there are 3 Brisbane Lions players that he could have handballed this to, or kicked it to. He actually handballs it over the top of Kyle Lohmann, and it goes through for a behind. This was an easy goal gone missing. Not entirely sure if the umpire forgot that he was the umpire in this situation or if he was just watching, but there was probably at least 1, possibly 2 holding the ball calls that didn't get called, and then James Robon gets the ball and is tackled. I mean, this one is also holding the ball, but if that one's holding the ball, then the Brayshaw one before that was definitely holding the ball as well. So I'm not entirely sure why that one was picked out as holding the ball, when I felt like probably 2, possibly even all 3 of those tackles could have been holding the ball, especially Errol Goulden, who's tried to fend off. How's that not holding the ball? What do you think about that one? Somehow this one also wasn't paid holding the ball. As Bailey tries to fend off, he gets tackled down to the ground and the ball comes loose, but the umpire does not pay holding the ball. A couple things in this clip. Firstly, the importance of sticking the tackle as Hayden Young breaks it and he's able to pass it off to a teammate in O'Meara. He has a really nice step for Heaney and he just drops him. Fakes that he's going on the left and then easily goes on the right and goes and kicks a goal. A pretty poor kick in from Sinclair, but also from Steele, I think it is, who sort of runs for the ball and just stops, which allows the Port forward to get the ball and eventually kick the goal. I don't think you can put the entire blame on the kicker, as he's put it straight out in front, but Steele or whoever it was just didn't run onto the ball, just stopped and waited, just allowed it to get stolen. As a Crows fan myself, this is one thing that absolutely infuriates me about Rachele's game. You can see that he had the clear option of passing over to Taylor Walker or kicking it to the right to another teammate. Instead, he goes for goal. If you're going to do that, if you're going to burn two of your teammates, you need to make sure that this definitely goes through for a goal. But he's actually shanked the kick. He's got to do better than this, and he does it time after time, and it's extremely frustrating. He's a very selfish player. After a nice play through the midfield, Rivers receives the ball back, and as he runs, he goes through and kicks the goal. But the umpire has called that he ran too far. I think it's fair. I think he did run probably at least 20 metres. And another one as Sturt runs probably 20 to 25 metres. He does bounce the ball first, but then runs on, and he's in between minds whether to pass the ball or go for goal. He takes way too long to make that decision, and the umpire calls him for running too far. This seems to be happening more and more now. Why do you think that is? Sidebottom gets the ball and he handballs it in towards Crisp. It's a little bit hot, so Crisp has to go and get the ball, and Alex Sexton just absolutely puts him right on his bum. I felt like this one was pretty stiff on the umpires to pay this for insufficient intent, as Toby Green has actually knocked the ball out of Michael Annie's hands. Watching the first replay, I honestly thought that he did knock the ball out, but watching the replay, he's clearly had some help from Toby. This was a pretty normal goal, I guess, but just the way that Mychek stepped around Davies was awesome. He did it so casually. As Merritt clears the ball, he kicks it to about the 50-metre mark, and the Geelong defender comes in to spoil the ball. He doesn't do a very good job of it, to the point where it just comes off the side of his fist and hits Zach Tui for a very nice falcon. Brayshaw was a little bit stiff on this one, I thought, as Cunningham runs past Brayshaw. He actually does drop his knees a little bit, which causes the high contact. Brayshaw's got him dead to rights, holding the ball, but unfortunately the umpire has seen it as a high tackle and pays a free kick to Cunningham. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video tomorrow. Thanks for watching.